Hello beautiful, and thank you for clicking on today's video. Keeping a tidy house is something that I'm sure all of us wish maintained itself. And this is actually something that I've struggled with a little bit off and on as I've sort of mulled through adulthood, is keeping my house both functional and tidy on a regular basis. And I'm happy to share that with some of the tips that I'm going to be sharing with you today. Whether you implement all of them or even just some of them, your house will maintain itself as far as being tidy a little bit more effortlessly. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Number one is to actually just have less stuff. I don't know if you guys have ever heard the term more money, more problems, but the same can be true for stuff. If you have less stuff, you have less stuff to be responsible for, less stuff to dust and clean all the time, and just less stuff visually cluttering up your space in the first place. Sometimes I think a lot of us don't really consider the aspect of visual clutter, but if you have a very full house, even if everything is styled and organized, sometimes that visual clutter can weigh on your mentality in ways that you don't know until it's removed. So if you think that might be you, it may be worth trying having less stuff. And that's in addition to the cleaning benefits that I've already mentioned. The biggest tip that I give to people in my life who I know are trying to minimize and declutter their space is to not overlook any category, no matter how small. So decluttering clothes and bags I feel like is pretty normal and regular, but I'm talking everything, including things like pens and pencils. So perfect example, pens and pencils. Many of us have way more pens and pencils that we've gotten for free than we actually need. They can be donated to a school so that they're actually being used before they get dried out. And if you have too many pens and pencils, what tends to happen is they don't get put back because they're so plentiful. So no category is going to be too small to declutter and really be intentional with within your home. Tip number two is to have a home for everything in your home. And I'm talking everything. This goes far and beyond having a coat hook and a key hook by the front door. A few obscure examples in my house are this little basket here where I put towels from my kitchen that are dirty and need to be washed, but I'm not quite ready to take upstairs. They all belong there, and it actually looks quite beautiful. The umbrella that I use maybe 3 weeks out of the year has a home inside of this closet. Let me show you. It's kind of hard to see, but there's actually a hook right here that holds my umbrella, as opposed to it just kicking on the floor randomly in this closet. And that's just a couple of examples. Similar to that first tip where no category is too small to declutter, no category is too small to make sure that it has a designated place to live within your home. I highly recommend right now, pause this video and look around your house. See what's out of place and if it has a home. If it doesn't have a home, make it one. A really good tip to keep in mind with this particular one is work with your tendencies rather than against them, trying to do what you're supposed to do. So, perfect example. If you put your purse by the couch as opposed to the front door where it's supposed to live, instead of working against your natural tendencies, work with them and create a spot next to the couch for your purse to live, as opposed to by the front door where you're not putting it anyway. Another tip kind of on this same vein is to have designated drop zones for the clutter that exists in life. It is impossible to not have any clutter ever exist at any point in life, but what you can do is have a drop zone for that stuff to go at the end of the day. What I've seen successful on Pinterest and also YouTube, specifically for children, is to have baskets. So when you're doing your nightly tidy, as opposed to cleaning up after every member of your household, just take it off where it's not meant to go, put it in their basket, and then it becomes their responsibility to put away at a time that is good for them. It's sort of a win-win because then you get to have the tidy house that you want and everybody else still gets to use the space in a way that's good for them. You don't feel like you're picking up after everybody, but also you don't feel like their crap is everywhere all of the time. Additionally, if you're a mom, I know that you are familiar with the, "Hey mom, where's the blank?" And now, if all of their crap is in a basket at the end of the night or where it's meant to go, you can just say, "Hey, check your basket," and while you're at it, maybe put it where it belongs. The next thing is to make sure everybody in your household is on the same page. If you are watching this video, that probably means that you are the one that is going to be organizing your house the most and assigning all of the homes within your house for the things that belong within it. That being said, that also means it is your job to communicate to every member of your household what the home of the item is. And there's a couple ways to do this. You can, walk your husband and children all around your house holding their hand, letting them know this is where the pens go and this is where the scissors go. And that may work for you and your household, but what works really well for me and my husband is having everything just very clearly labeled. I find that when things are labeled, not only are things more easily found, but things are also less likely to be put back incorrectly. And if they are put back incorrectly, it's very easy to call to attention like, hey, why did you put the scissors where this is labeled spoons? That doesn't really make a lot of sense. And you do that enough times, it eventually stops happening, at least in my experience. And similar to the last tip, you're gonna wanna build something that functionally works for your entire family. So if something is consistently being put back wrong, it may be that the type of organization that was designated for that spot doesn't work for specific members of your family. So there's gonna be a little bit of trial and error and perhaps a little bit of frustration, but try to be patient and diligent and it will all fall into place eventually. Just make sure you don't get hung up on what it's supposed to be and just create something that works. This is future me because I forgot to mention with regards to making your organization work for you, a perfect example in my house of this is not having any lids on any organization bins. I found that when I had lids on my bins and my bins were stacked in my linen closet or bathroom or wherever I had them, the struggle and the opposition of just removing the lid to put the item inside usually meant that was enough resistance that the item never ended up going where it belonged. It went on the top of or on the side of. So that is just a perfect example for both my husband and I where the organization wasn't inherently bad. It just wasn't working for the way his and my brain and organization styles work out. So like I said, a little bit of trial and error sometimes, but you can definitely find something that works for every member of your family. Next on the list is probably an obvious one, but that is to tidy every night. And as I am standing here, I'm noticing how bad the background looks. We're redoing our fireplace, please don't mind that for now, but to tidy every single night. Similar to going to the gym or eating healthy, if you do it once and you do a huge overhaul of 3 hours in the gym, that is not going to be as effective as doing 30 minutes a couple of times a week. Same is true for tidying every night. You can do the seasonal overhaul of your house, or you can spend 5 to 10 minutes every evening just sort of picking things up as they go. Your house will sort of naturally maintain itself if you do that. Now, if you have ADHD like me, or you just tend to procrastinate these small tasks that I think a lot of humans procrastinate, these small, easy, mundane, boring tasks, what you can do is what I do and works really well for me, and also my husband, depending upon who's picking up at the end of the night, is to set a timer. I usually set the timer anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes, and you would be shocked at how much you can get picked up and put away in that amount of time. These tasks that I do every single night really don't take that long at all. Wiping the counters, vacuuming the kitchen, doing the dishes, and then you get to wake up the next day, fresh, reset, ready to go. If you happen to need to listen to something while you're doing your 10 and 15 minute tidies, I just launched a podcast about 2 months ago with another minimalist and simple living creator here on YouTube called Living Well Minimalism. Kylie and I just launched a Patreon exclusive podcast that I'm going to leave linked down below if you want to give it a listen. I will also have linked down below some of the free on YouTube podcast clips that you can listen to while you're doing your 10 or 15 minute tidies. And the last tip, which is probably the most important tip, is to be patient and give yourself and your family grace and time to get it right. If you are not a naturally organized person, or your family are not naturally organized people, it is going to take a little bit of time before these sort of habits come into place of actually putting things back rather than just putting things down. The best way to solve this issue is to create the least amount of resistance possible. In my life, it was not having lids on bins and having everything clearly labeled. In your life and your household, it might look a little bit different. Just be patient, and before you know it, you and or your family will be doing this on autopilot before you know it. And that's gonna be it for today's video. If you have any specific tidying pain points, let me know in the comments down below and I'll do my best to try and help you out. If you have any suggestions for future videos or you just want to say hi, leave a comment about that too. If you like this video, it does help out me and my channel more than you probably realize. Subscribe if you're not already, and there'll be a couple of cool uploads for videos that I think you'll like in the description box down below, along with that podcast link that I mentioned earlier. And with all of that being said, I'll see you next week. Bye!